Wow, they're busy. Guess what? It is spring, and today is the first day I get to go into these games. There's activity bustling in all 8 of these, which is super exciting because if you remember last year, I only had 2 out of the 8 make it. So we're gonna break this thing down. We're gonna go through the top box, maybe the bottom. We'll see how things go. Everything looks great. We're gonna go ahead and add some syrup and some pollen patties and get this thing kicking off. So that's what this episode is about. Okay, welcome back to Storybook Honey. This is the first time I've been into these girls since, probably early October. Okay, just for those of you that are new to the channel, we're located in north central Iowa. It gets down to, I think the -20s, I think is the coolest we got this winter. These girls stayed put and weathered through that. So I'm pretty excited to make this much through. So what we're doing today is I got to break all these down. Now it is going to get kind of chilly this next week or so. Ideally, it'd be nice to keep the insulation on, but it's just too much work. We get some really windy days and sometimes these foam covers get blown off, and I'm just going to take them off. And if they're really small, I would leave them on, but I've got several of them where the top and bottom entrances are being used, so I have a feeling they're very full, which is great. So first step I'm going to do is I got my smoker lit, or it was lit, but we're going to go ahead and break this insulation down and get that loaded up in the truck. So that's what we're going to do first. Got that job done. That always takes a little bit of a chore. I store those underneath my deck, and that's a small person job because I'm a little taller. Luckily I've got 2 little girls that are always willing to help. But yeah, there's tons of activity. I don't know if the camera's catching this up, but there is a swarm of clouds of bees coming in and out right above it. Glorious, it's glorious. A lot of pollen coming in right now, and just so you know, in our area there's a lot of willow and maple trees blooming. I did see the first dandelion today, and that's what got me excited about doing this. So there's a couple things that we do as beekeepers. One is feeding them and treating them, and we'll talk more about treating them for mites and other diseases, but we're not doing that today. Today is all about the bees. I slid the ones on the very, very far end. They're a little heavier than the ones on the end here. Now there's a lot of more bees in here. 2 weeks ago, I put sugar, just raw granulated sugar on top of them because I seen that they weren't much fair for stores. And until the dandelion blooms, there's not a whole bunch of nectar coming in. There's a lot of pollen, not a whole lot of nectar. So that's the carbohydrate in the bee's diet, is the nectar. So what I'm going to do is give them 1-to-1 sugar syrup and throw in a pollen patty. Now, Josh, why are you putting pollen patties on? Well, in April, it happens a lot of times in our area. It rains and it's not a good flying day, but they need to build that nest back up for the spring harvest of nectars and flowers. And as us as beekeepers, we want to try to maximize the honey. Now, I don't do it for the honey. I've always done it for the bees, but I know a lot of you love the honey and have been waiting very patiently for it. So I'm a little ahead of the curve, and what we do when we start feeding them 1-to-1 is we start telling that queen starts sensing there's nectar coming in, and it's time for her to start laying eggs. So it's kind of a timing thing for us. We don't want to start feeding too soon, because if the nest builds up and there's nothing for them to forage, then we're stuck feeding, and also run a risk of swarming later on, which is always kind of nerve-wracking. Good for those of us that are just doing it for the bees and hoping the bees go out and survive, but we caught a lot of swarms last year, and we plan on doing the same again this year. But anyway, so the next step is we're going to pull these plastic sleeves off, and I'm just going to do 1 by 1. I'm putting the sleeves back on it. It's just another layer of wind protection because I'm going to break the seal. If I open up that top and bottom box, I'm breaking the propolis that they've used to seal that, to keep air from coming in. So this will just help keep them that. Plus the black radiant heat from the sun warms that hive up pretty nice. So next step is we're just going to go through here, and if I see something interesting, I'm going to stop the time lapse and show you what's inside. So here we go. Like I said, I wanted to stop to show you something interesting. Now, the one thing I was not expecting to see was drones. We have a couple drones right there, the bigger ones. See that one there that I got my finger on? That is a drone. That is a sign of a thriving colony. Now, if you can look, one of the things we're looking at is a pattern. It's kind of covered in bees right now, but this whole area here is with capped brood. And that's called, those are the young bees. That's what capped brood is. Was not expecting to see drones, which is really cool. Now this one here is primed because they had 2 frames of honey on there. I did give them sugar. They ate quite a bit of it. But what's going to happen now is I got to reverse. I'm going to put the bottom box on the top. So, because typically the heat rises, this is where the queen goes first, is the up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the rest of the top box. And then I'm going to go through the bottom box. If I see the queen, I'll stop and I'll show you. But we're just going to keep on moving because I got quite a few of these to go through. But yeah, wow, drones already crazy. I had to get the gloves on. It tends to be when these older bees, especially the winter bees, can get a little ornery. And they started testing me. Got tagged for the first time this year. It didn't take long. So anyway, just a real brief summary. I don't know if you can see this. That is a ton of bees. I mean, oops, let me get that right so you can see it. That is a ton of bees. This is one that I'm a little concerned that I'm gonna have to watch for swarms. So anyway, we're gonna go through the bottom box. I was hoping to find the queen to show you. I won't do that on all of them, but I spent a little extra time trying to find her so I could show it to you. But you can see they're getting kind of angry, so I need to wrap this thing up. So we're gonna button up the top, flip the boxes, maybe just open a few of them up on the bottom, and get their sugar syrup and pollen in and call this one done. All right, I found her. The queen was on the bottom box. She looks very, very healthy. She's right here. Blue dot. Looks great. Now, I got another little nuke box. I'm gonna go ahead and put her in so she's safe so I can do the rest of the manipulation and not have to worry about crushing her. That is a great find. They look really good. She's already started laying on the bottom box. That is way ahead of what I thought there'd be. So, these girls, again, I'm gonna have to watch swarming. This is a little bigger than I was anticipating. Great sign, but I'm probably only gonna feed them until I start seeing some apple trees start to bloom, and then I'm gonna start putting supers on this one for sure. We're about a week or 2 away from that, but anyway, we're gonna put this one back together. Okay, yeah, these girls, me trying to manipulate and find the queen, I had this one open a little bit too long. Just wanted to show you a little bit what I've done. I've added a 1-frame syrup feeder. So the syrup and nectar will be inside the box. Then I'm going to place a pollen patty on. But first thing I do is I got to go grab that queen and put her back in here. Got the queen right here. She's on this side. I'm going to go ahead and put her up against this other frame here. And then I'm going to scooch. If I don't clean the propolis on the side of the frames with these frame feeders, they're really, really tight. So I'm just going to scooch as much room as we can. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, let's fill that feeder up and put some pollen patties on it and get these girls back in their home. All right. First thing I'm going to do is, this is freshly made pollen patty. It's a homemade recipe. You just poke the wax paper a little bit, flip it around so they can access it. I might smoke these girls down a little bit. My smoker, like I said, first one of the year is always out of practice, So bear with me on that. My smoker's barely going. Again, first one of the year, takes the longest, and thanks for being patient with me, but that's what's going on. All right, let's fill this thing. The fresh foraging force is on the bottom now because those will hatch first. And then when you put the supers on, she would have already laid up here. And they always store nectar, fresh nectar, right above the brood nest. So we're doing a couple things. We're moving the brood nest up, giving her room to lay, giving them fresh food. And I'm not going to have to feed these girls very much. Because once the dandelions really start to bloom, then they'll really start hauling it in. But what I've always sought after is the sweet nectar of crabapple and apple trees. Because I'm telling you, the apiary smells really, really nice when you have that type of nectar coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and scrape this burr comb off the lid. I took a few more breaks because I wanted to find that queen, which I'm glad I did find her. It always makes me feel a little more secure that, you know, I didn't crush her accidentally. So anyway, I hope you guys found this video interesting, and we're just getting started. So I look forward to sharing the progress of this. We are going to capture some swarms. I know a lot of you had put requests to say, hey, I can put a swarm trap in my yard, I'll watch it. I ran into a couple problems with that. One, the swarm trap I made, when the bees go in it, super heavy, really hard to do by yourself on a tree 10 feet in the air. So I'm a little apprehensive about doing that after I took a few of them down, but we're going to work on that. We're going to continue our queen breeding program where we're selecting bees that naturally take care of varroa mites, which you know, I did treat these girls with oxalic acid vaporization back in January, end of December, trying to get the varroa mites under control when there's no brood. So I'm not going to do any more treating now until I'm going to start doing mite washes here probably in another month or two. And I'll just keep track of the ones that have a little mite load. So anyway, that's what this year is going to be all about. So it should be fun. So thanks for watching, and everyone, you be safe. Happy Easter.